I don't know exactly when do I really appear. Is it right now, which is what it looks like to me, but then of course it's always different. But nope, it's not. There's a little bit more of a delay. Hi everybody. Let me do some motion that makes everybody let I know that I'm on. Somebody say something so I know I'm existing, please. I'm literally waiting for somebody to type in the chat window that they can hear me. Alan says I'm on. Okay, I'm on. Hello, everybody. It's Mike Meyers, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Mike Meyers Ask Mike Anything live stream. The goal of this live stream is to provide those of us who are isolated by the coronavirus an opportunity to continue our studies for Comptia and other IT certifications. So welcome. So here's how this works. We start here at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we will go until 3 o'clock Central Standard Time, 1 hour, or until the questions run out. So sometimes we quit a little early, sometimes we run on a little bit, just depends how the questions are going. It is Ask Mike Anything. So to ask me questions, just type them here into the chat window. I might recommend that you turn up at the top of the chat window here on your YouTube page, where you see it says Top Chat, make sure that says Live Chat. And you also might want to consider making sure that the timestamps are turned on. That can be handy if you know where I'm at. And then last, you might even want to consider doing a little pop out. Some people find that convenient. But anyway, welcome. So no great topics here today, so I'm definitely leading on you. I got one interesting email that we'll be talking about here in a minute. But other than that, let's take a quick swipe and see if there's any questions. Brent Peterson, how's it going, man? Mokhtar, Jared, Teddy Zoe, Mr. G, Christina Strickland. Christina, did you send me an email? I think I responded, just like today. So I hope I gave you an answer you're looking for. Everyone can hear and we're live. Happiness and joy. That's what I like to see. TD Washington. Hi, folks. Tuning in while I said balcony. I thought it said baloney. I was like, baloney windows? What town are you in? Hey, Peter Hunt. All right. And Andrew Gaudet. Good Irish name there, huh, Andrew? I'm kidding. It's a joke. What do we got going here? Well, first of all, I'm just wearing a regular t-shirt. I wanted to make sure I had my fat guy camouflage, better known as spots of mustard, on my shirt. That way, when I'm hanging out with lots of big mustard bottles, I'm completely invisible to you. Drinking only my third cup of tea today. Dave Rush, Falconry Windows. Yeah, I guess so. There we go. All right, so anytime you see me looking over to the right here, folks, I'm just running through the questions, looking for questions. So 203, Cole Walsh. Mike, took the A+ Core 1 for the second time today. Didn't pass. All right, Cole, you just stop. All right, first of all, I know it's not any fun. I know it's embarrassing, but it ain't the end of the world, okay? I have had to take a couple of exams. I've had to take them 3 times before I pass, so you're in good company. This ain't an SAT. Other than your time and money, there is no cost. You can take these exams over and over again, but you shouldn't. So, Cole, what we're going to do here, I have reviewed your resources, Professor Messer and Jason Dion's material. I got exactly the same score both times. You, Cole, are going to have to send me an email. Cole, I want to talk to you. So, Cole, we're going to start this by you sending me an email. And I want you to send it to my email address. Cole, this is for you. Anybody can write it down, but Cole, I want to talk to you. Send me an email to michaelm@totalsem.com and just give me a quick reminder that we're talking on the show here, and then you and I are going to have a conversation. Something's broken in here, Cole, and I know how to fix it, but I have to ask you a series of questions in order to make that repair. I can't do it here in this and be helpful to you. So Cole, and then Cole, once you're done, after we get you fixed up, if you want me to tell people what we talked about, I can do that, but that's going to be up to you first and foremost. Sherry ends. What's the value of Windows in S mode? Dave Rush, what is this Miss Sherry talking about? S mode? Safe mode? Is this some new abbreviation? You got to be really careful with me, is I loathe abbreviations. The reason I loathe abbreviations is because exactly like what we're seeing right here, Sherry, when you say S mode, I think you're going to mean safe mode, but unless you say that, there's no reason for me to continue that conversation. So the other problem that I have with acronyms is that it doesn't matter to me. Whether you know what DHCP stands for or not, what I'm more worried about is you being able to configure a DHCP server or getting an individual DHCP system to get a non-APIPA address, stuff like that. So I don't care about abbreviations as long as we... S mode is a security mode. Only works with specific apps from Microsoft that comply with security APIs. I've heard the term. I don't know. But if I tell you I don't know, Sherry, the other thing I can tell you it's not. If I don't know anything about it, I can almost guarantee you two things are a fact. It's not going to be on any of the certifications I train for, and number two, it's not going to make you better tech because I don't use it. In 2 years will I use it? Who knows? I remember when USB first came out, I stared at it for 6 months going, who could possibly want USB? But for right now, I'm going to have to sneak away. So I don't know. Sorry, Sherry. I'll tell you what, Sherry, if it gets interesting to you, send me some articles and you can see if you can get me interested as well. My problem is, guys, is I get bombarded with so much tech information every day that I've learned to be pretty jaded about stuff. Esoteric Windows utilities, weird Linux distros. There's a lot of things like that that people get excited about, or at least some small subgroups of people get excited about, and the fact that I don't know them, they think that that's bad. It's okay. Yeah, Sherry, check it out. If it looks interesting to you, we can talk about it, though. NASA, though. Oh, the shirt is, yes, this is a NASA shirt. Which one is this? This is celebrating 50 years, 60 years of Apollo 11? 60th. God, I'm old. No, it can't be 60th, 50th. Because that was back in 2019. Safmo. Saf, I did get your email as well. Keep them coming. Hi, Mike. Are you considering to do any Microsoft certification courses? We do. We have a few Microsoft courses. We're just kind of busy on a few other projects. Man, you guys have no idea how badly coronavirus torpedoed Total Seminars. We're doing fine. We're a fine company, don't get me wrong, but the backlog of projects we need to get out is almost, God, I'm not even going to say it out loud. TD Washington. I'm in Sacramento, second floor apartment. Maintenance never cleans our windows. All right. Teddy Zoe. What's the difference between an application, a program, and a script? Sure. So the whole crux of computing is to send series of instructions that CPUs understand to make them do stuff. Like if I press down the 2 on my keyboard, I want that 2 to show up in the right cell in Microsoft Excel. If I make a formula that says equals 2 plus 2, then I want it to make a 4 in there. So that's all that computing is sending chunks of machine language, or what we call compiled code or executables. An executable file, an exe file or something like that, is nothing more than a chunk of code that your CPU knows how to like make Microsoft Word or a game or whatever it is. So that's what a program is. A program is any chunk of executable code that that is read by the CPU. Now keep in mind, these executable codes run in an operating system environment. So if you want to do Microsoft Word, you have to do Microsoft Word for Windows and install that on a machine with Windows. If you want to do Word on a Mac, you're going to have to install Word for a Mac. So to make a program, we write in this if, then, else kind of language. But once that language is written, in order to turn it into an executable file, we have to use a compiler. And a compiler is just a program that takes a bunch of code that's written in programmer language. You and I can read code, and it would make sense by looking at it. And it compiles it into whatever language is necessary for that particular operating system. Okay? You get compilers from, like Microsoft sells lots of compilers. In fact, Microsoft gives away lots of compilers. If you want to write a program in C++, or I'm trying to think of some of the older ones, you're going to use a compiled program. So that's what a program is. An application is a program that is designed to run on top of an operating system to get some kind of work done. For example, Microsoft Word is an application. Your web browser is an application. The GUI interface for Windows Desktop is an application. These are the things that get stuff done. Well, Mike, then it sounds like all executables are applications. Oh, no, 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 no. You've got lots and lots of executables that sit in the background that don't do anything. Or they do work, but they work to help make applications go. For example, if you have Microsoft Word, do you think the code in Microsoft Word says, here's how we make the bar at the top, and here's how you make the slider? That's not built into Word. Word calls on dynamic link libraries to do that stuff. Dynamic link libraries are not programs. They're big archives, libraries of, let's just call it subroutines, that word.exe can call to, or winword.exe can call to get stuff done. Device drivers can be executable. It gets a little fuzzy there. I'm going to stick to it. A device driver is certainly a program, but it is not an application. You don't use the driver to get work done. I mean, we use a device driver to make the mouse work or to make the monitor output, but we don't use it to actually get the work done. So that's the difference between an application and a program. All applications are programs. Not all programs are applications. Now the next word you throw in is script. A script means it's something interpreted. So like when you write all that code, instead of compiling it, what you do instead is you take the code and you can tighten it up a little bit. Let's use this one in particular. Let's use something called JavaScript. And in the world of JavaScript, I can take a piece of code and let it sit on my server. My server is a web page. So you go to that web page and it can bring pieces of Java code down to your computer to make stuff run that can run a little bit better. These are not compiled. They're not compiled. Built into your web browser are interpreters that know how to read this script and make the program go. So interpreted programs are really good for like web pages, because if you go to a web page and you want somebody to run an executable, well, that piece of executable code has to know what operating system you're running on and stuff like that. Pardon me, guys. I'm sucking on these Werther's Originals. But if you have just a piece of script on your web server, then it doesn't matter who connects to it. Every web browser, the one that's running on your Mac, the one that's running on Linux, the one that's running on Linux, all have the interpreters to be able to look at that code and make it play chess or whatever you're doing to go. So scripts are not programs. Scripts are not applications. Scripts are scripts. Don Fine. So after July 2022, Comptia comes with a new test edition. Don, Comptia has made no announcements, and I can't say anything, and I won't. Elbow. Hey, Elbow. Good to see you, man. I've been here for a while. Sherry and us. Hi. Just found it today. This is Sherry was talking about the S mode. Yeah, Sherry, let me know if it's a topic worth talking about. Ooh. So one of the problems I run into is when I'm checking the chat window, it won't move, and then I touch it, and all of a sudden it goes, so I don't even know where the... So I always got to scroll up to find where I'm at. David Rush, Pangalactic Gargle Blaster. It's the chemical equivalent of a gold brick wrapped in a sock, if I can remember any of that stuff. Kevin Peterson, abbreviations are the hardest. Yeah, I'm not good on abbreviations either. I literally have an acronym list next to my desk because they get too confusing. Me too. Nifty Glowing Cheese Brittany, I remember you. Does a Microsoft certification expire? Yeah, pretty much all certifications have an expiration date that's about 3 years. I don't think anything doesn't do that. But what I will also tell you that in the IT world, people who are hiring are not in a big panic. For the most part, there's exceptions, about whether a test is expired or not. If you went on a job and you said, I got an A+ 4 years ago, I don't think they would say, yeah, they might say, I mean, if you say you got an A+ 4 years ago and then you've got 4 years of good hard work experience, then it's pretty good. And people don't care. They're just not going to worry about it. Got to remember, folks, the only thing a certification does is it gets you ready for your next job. If you don't have a job, it gets you ready for your starting job. Certifications in and of themselves are not going to give you a raise. Well, sometimes they give you a raise or anything like that. Certifications just get you ready for your next job. That's it. I don't have the certificate because my teacher lost the information. Well, Nifty Glowing Cheese Brittany, your teacher doesn't need to have that information. You can contact Comptia directly at www.comptia.org and explain the situation. You can probably look this up yourself on Comptia. So Brittany, I would, if you have taken a Comptia certification in your name, it can be looked up. So that's not accurate. You don't have to take them over again. John at 210. I'm about to take my Core 2. Wish me luck. Good luck, John. And I need help deciding either to do CCNA or Net Plus next. John, I tell people to take the Network Plus before CCNA. And my motivation for that is I think CCNA is a great cert. It's a super well-recognized cert. The problem with CCNA is that Cisco immediately wants to bring you into the Cisco priesthood. And like the first time, I'm trying to think, oh yeah, great example. If you try to learn VLANs first from Cisco, you won't be wrong. Don't get me wrong, and just, but Cisco makes you look at things their way. Again, not wrong, it's just a Cisco way. I have found that people who learn about initial networking the Cisco way often find themselves confused if you try to expand outside of that. They'll figure it out, but it can be tough. If you have the time and the bandwidth, I would strongly recommend you take Network Plus. It is far better to learn about DHCP and DNS and all that stuff from a vendor-neutral standpoint. Then go take your CCNA and become a ching, 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 ching Cisco head. And God bless you. Cisco, I got to tell you, man, Cisco's a great way to go. People are like, oh, well, software-defined network. No. Well, it doesn't matter. Still, Cisco's doing great. Siegfried Vanderwee. Do I know you? I missed a question, that says. Okay. Hi, Mike. What's the difference between a VLAN and IP subnetting? Huge difference there. So, gosh, Linda, was it Linda 208? Linda, did I just straight up missed it? Oh, I do see it now. Okay, so Linda, they're very different things. A VLAN works at layer 2. I can have VLANs with nothing but switches, okay? Good old layer 2 switches. And I can configure these switches in such a way that, so when you have one switch, anything who plugs into that is in a broadcast domain. Any one computer that sends out a broadcast, it goes to all the other computers. So we call that a broadcast domain. Here's one switch, one broadcast domain. If I have two switches, I can plug them together and they become one much bigger broadcast domain. A VLAN takes a physical switch and chops it down into one or more virtual broadcast domains. So what I can do with and a switch has to be designed to do this, not like the really cheap home switches do not have this capability. So what we'll do is let's say I got an 8-port switch. I can configure 4 of those ports to be in VLAN 1 and the other 4 ports to be in VLAN 2. So it's like I literally took one 8-port switch and turned it into 2 4-port switches. So in a VLAN, and this has nothing to do with IP addressing at all, nothing. I could do this in old NetWare if I wanted. VLANs mean, and IP addresses mean nothing. It's the MAC addresses of all the different devices. That's where this comes into play. So VLANs are a good way, like if I've got a coffee shop and I got a bunch of public people on my wireless network, I can put them on one VLAN and keep like my accounting computer and my POS, what is that, point of sale machine and stuff like that on a separate network. If I want these two networks to talk to each other, I'm either going to have to plug a router in between them, or if the switch is advanced enough, you'll have what are called multi-layer switches, which means they'll run at layer 2, which is what switches run at, but they also have some layer 3, which is IP addressing capability, and they have what's called inter-VLAN routing, where you can virtualize inside your switch a router. Yeah, cool, huh? Yeah. What was the other thing? IP subnetting. IP subnetting has absolutely different universe than it has to do with VLANs. IP subnetting started out years ago because we gave away way too many IP addresses. When IP addresses, IPv4 addresses started coming out, arguably in the 70s, well, arguably in the 60s, but I won't go there. There were 4 billion addresses from 0000 to 255.255.255.255. Sure, we had to set a few of these aside for one thing or another, but people just, because when they first invented the internet, they were like, well, one day we might have like 12,000 computers. Yeah, they weren't planning on what happened. So subnetting was a way to allow you to take classful addresses. Like, for example, you have 254 addresses because you bought, I'm making this up, 227.4.5.x, WAC24. So you got what did I just say? 227.2.7. whatever. That's 254 addresses. You don't need that many. So what we would do is we would subnet, and we would take that. Again, this has nothing to do with VLANs. It's a completely different conversation, okay? Maybe I'd make 2 VLANs, and I wanted each VLAN to have IP addresses from the 227.2.7. Get that? And then I'd break that down. So half of them would be like 227.2.7.1 to 126, and the other half would be 227.2.7.129 to 254. So what I did is I took that 227.2.7 and I turned it into 2 subnets. Nothing to do with VLAN. Completely different animals. Well, Mike, they kind of do some separation. They do. They do. Make sure I didn't miss any more questions. And yes, we're giving stuff away today. We're going to be giving away free practice questions today, and we will also be giving away 1 Comptia Voucher courtesy. There we go. English is not my first language today. Courtesy of Comptia. So yeah, we're going to be giving away a $400 certificate. Up to $400 depending on what certification you take it on. Rabar Bouillon. What's the difference between routing and switching? Actually, very little. Layer 2 switches are a classic switch, filters and forwards traffic based on its MAC address. Layer 3 switches We also call them routers. Layer 3 switch, router are, in my opinion, the same word. A layer 3 switch filters and forwards traffic based on the IP address. That's the difference. What you need to be doing right now, Rabar, because you asked me that question, you need to memorize and understand the OSI 7-layer model. There's nothing wrong with your question, but your question shows me how I can help you. So I want you to work on the OSI 7-layer model and be able to iterate it back and forth, and then come back with me with more questions. Chris Kent. Trev Roberts. Hey, Mike, I've scoured the internet. Combed the desert. It's an old joke. Spaceballs, the movie. He's gone plaid. Hi, Mike. I've scoured the internet and can't seem to find an exact answer for this question. Oh, boy. What are the protocols exactly? Are they software that comes with the OS? Are they firmware on the NIC? One of the great dangers we run into when we're learning anything is how do you put something in the learner's hand, or how do you open a hatch in such a way that somebody can see whatever this is what you're talking about. When you tell me where is the protocol, you're almost like telling me where is the law that says if I stab you with a harpoon that I'm going to go to jail. A protocol is like a law, or it's almost like a language, or it's a law that defines a language. A protocol is nothing more. Think about, let's look up protocol. The official procedure or system of rules governing affairs of state or okay, let's see. That still works, for the record. I'm going to break it down to a communications protocol. I'm using all the powers of Wikipedia here. A communications protocol is a system of rules that allows two or more entities of a communication system to transmit information via any kind of variation of a physical quantity. In other words, we have something we'd like to communicate about. Okay, then let's invent a protocol to do that. Well, Mike, I need a protocol that allows me in my web browsers to type in weird things like www.totalsem.com, and something has to look at that. Something has to be at a set of rules that governs how we're going to figure out what the IP address is, because computers don't use wwws or any of that stuff. They just use IP addresses. So somebody had to invent the domain name services system, whatever, and that is a protocol. So a protocol is a set of rules to get something done. You want to resolve fully qualified domain names to IP addresses, and you're going to use the DNS protocol. Well, Mike, I have a computer, and I don't want to be typing in its IP address all the time and physically typing in a static IP address. What if something happens or changes? Okay, so we're going to come up with this protocol called the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. They even left the P in there for you. That's designed to do a very specific kind of communication. It takes a computer that, when it's turned off, doesn't have an IP address. When the computer boots up, gets an IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, DNS, the whole shebang. Get the idea? So a protocol is a set of rules. So where do rules live? Where's the rule about murder here in Texas? I mean, there's a book somewhere in Austin, I guess, that talks about what that protocol is. But most people who work, God, murder just seems a little heavy. You know what? I'm going to go with it. You're big kids. Texas state law that says harpooning somebody in the back and murdering them is a bad thing. So yeah, there's probably a book about that rule, law, protocol somewhere. But for the most part, the legal system understands it, knows it verbatim, and just makes that work. If you want to make a web browser, what does a web browser need? Well, it needs to work with the HTTP protocol and all kinds, well, lots more than that, but I mean, that just gets you started. So that's what a protocol is. It's a set of rules to do something. Now, what do you want to do? because there's a lot of different protocols. And you might come up with something, we don't know a way to do it yet. Or we might be coming up, or your request might be something like, oh, I just want to be able to move a file from here to here. I was like, oh, wow, we got a zillion protocols for that, you know, TFTP, FTP. I mean, we could go on and on. So what are we trying to do? And that determines the protocol you're going to be using. Or maybe there isn't a protocol for it yet because you just came up with something incredible because everybody wants to be able to convert all their language into Esperanto. There we go. Come up with a protocol. Let's get rich. Ask me what time it is. I'm going to tell you how to build a clock, people. Siegfried, 210, Siegfried Vanderwee. I've got an interesting question. Do you have any tricks or advice for memorizing? I don't do any of those little tricks, guys. The thing about the 7-layer model is just use it a lot. Say words like layer 3 switch. I mean, go on eBay if you don't believe me. Type in layer 3 switch on eBay and watch what pops up. It's the language we use and know. It's like me in Spanish. I've been going around now for almost 40 years speaking Español para gringos solamente, okay? And the reason is because I don't know enough. I live in Texas, and 1/3 of the people here in Texas speak Spanish. And so I've said to myself, I need to get better at this protocol. I need to understand where I'm coming from. So I start practicing it more. And that's the same thing as with OSI. Assembly language. I don't like memorizing stuff for the sake of memorization. I would like to think that in my training materials, if I'm not creating passion in your mind to understand why you just want to learn it, I don't need to memorize 200 different protocol numbers because it's an intrinsic part of what I do and say and think all the time. I use it constantly. Well, Mike, when am I going to use DNS? You use it 500 times a day. Check out what you're doing sometime. Change your DNS server. I mean, there's all kinds of fun stuff you can do. Elbow, is it true that 98% of the internet is made of the dark web? Or did I make that up in your sleep? What's a dark web? Yeah, I know it's a fun word to say. So a dark web to me is simply web pages that are not, indexed to a particular search engine. That's all it means. I don't build web pages anymore, but I'm pretty sure in my web server, there's a setting that just tells Google to shove it. Google isn't evil, they're just too big. And when you're that big, you can't help by being a little evil. Where am I going with that? I forgot. I don't believe that that number is accurate, but then again, I don't know. Nobody knows because they're dark web. All right, let's go ahead and let's do our first contest for the day. Our first contest, we're going to give away 90-day access to the practice questions of your choice. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull up some practice questions here on the Total Seminars website, and I'm going to ask a question of it. The first person who gets the answer right wins. Don't type, these are multiple choice, but do not type A, B, C, or D. You're instantly disqualified. Also, this is not fair. I try to make it fair, but there's a lot of people on earth who are like really sensitive, and you know what I mean? They're like, well, I was first. It's like, no, you weren't first, because just because you look like you're first on the chat window, that doesn't mean you are on mine, okay? So mellow out, and remember, there's only like 60 some odd people on here. 20 of them have won so many things that I've already stopped them from being able to get anything anymore. So you got 1 in 40 odds of a $400 Comptia certificate, and you don't get it? Just come back. Just come back. Don't get all crabby and you know what hurt, and then strut off. Just come back. So I'm here Mondays and Wednesdays. I got my buddy Dave Rush here Friday at 2 o'clock. He gives away vouchers. Be cool. All right. Somebody tell me, what do you want me to, I'll do practice questions on anything you guys want. Somebody type in some requests real quick. Follow it. Fair is overrated. I agree. Elbow. Oh, I forgot about you, Elbow. All right. Kevin Peterson says he wants A+. Charlie, I don't have any Linux certs, brother. I mean, I've got Linux questions in A+. Okay, you guys ready? In fact, I'm not even going to put up a multiple choice question. I'm just going to yell one out. You guys ready? This is a good one. So we want A+, but somebody else said they wanted Linux. We're going to do an A+ and a Linux question all in one. Now, guys, the A+ questions that we see for Linux are really pretty simple questions. But what tends to get people in trouble is they don't know a lot of the command line interface commands, which Comptia really hypes on, and they should. This is a very good job that Comptia does on this. So you guys ready? I'm in a terminal window. I'm in a bash shell. If you don't know what this is, wait for the next one. And I want to see the contents of the directory I'm currently located in. What command do I type? Go. What happened? I'm in a terminal window in Linux, and I want to see the contents of the folder in the command line interface. What command do I type? All right, we got lots of... Oh, good, man. I'm glad to see you guys are... That one isn't... All right, I think we have somebody, but this person has won before. Let's see what Big Dave Rush has to say about... So Dave literally keeps a list of everybody who's ever won any prize here. And it's... Look... if you've won more than once, you can win again, but I'm going to lean towards the new people. New people, if you haven't won anything, I'm going to lean towards you. And so I'm not saying people who haven't won before can't win. You can. My buddy, what's his name? Malibu 8800 won. Okay. I'm trying here. Hang on, guys. Abu Bakr, you've already won once, so I'm going to... Oh, wait a minute. There was another one I didn't even see. We're looking for a winner, folks. All right. I'll tell you what. I'm going to give this one to... Where'd he go? Frank. Frank, you are the winner of our 90-day access to practice questions. Now, Frank, in order to claim your prize, you got to jump through a couple of small hoops, mon frere. Let me get this all up and rolling here. Okay, here. Frank, here's what you got to do. Number one, Frank, you've got to send an email to my buddy, Dave R. at TotalSim.com. Dave, don't panic here, Frank. Dave Rush will post these instructions in the chat window. All right? Also, in that email, Dave, put your Frank, put your YouTube name in the body there, put your email address in the body, and then tell us which practice exam you want. You don't know which exam? Head on over to www.totalsim.com and take a look through our vast selection of practice questions, and you tell Dave Rush which one you want, and you get 90-day free access. So congratulations to you. All right, so we're still going to be giving away a Comptia voucher here before the day passes. All right. Andrew Hutz, RM. Elbow, go get a job. Elbow, you're in a good mood today. That was too easy of a question. I'm going to make the next one harder. All right, and guys, if you wanted a voucher, if you wanted practice questions and you don't win today, just come back. All right, let's see. Do we have any more questions? Or I got excited. about that. Everyone's super competitive today, which is good. Good competition is good. Yeah, just Christina. So, folks, I gotta warn you about this Christina Strickland. We might have a little bit of a comedian here. Miss Christina's given as good as she gets, which I'm gonna say hats off to you, young lady. Good for you. Oh my gosh. Hardware Plus, hilarious. All right, let's go ahead and let's just do another one. And this time I will promise, I absolutely will do. I'm going to do a Network Plus question. Guys, we're about to have another competition. And this time we're competing for the Network Plus. Where's the OOA? One moment, please. So what I'm doing here, guys, is I'm scrolling through the... I'm scrolling through the hub.total7.com, and so I'm going into an administrative way so I can look at like all the questions. All right, so we're going to do Network Plus. All right, this one's actually kind of interesting, guys. So what we're going to do... Oh, that's right. We did have another question I wanted to deal with, but let's go ahead and do the competition. Folks, we are now competing for a single Comptia voucher. So if you're going for your A+, you have to have 2. This won't get you through a complete A+, but it gets you through half of it. This is an international voucher. It works in any... If you are in a country where you can take a Comptia exam, which is like 150 countries on Earth, this voucher will work for you. It works for pretty much every Comptia certification. CYSA Plus had some limitation, and I don't know what that is. But other than that, it works for any of them. So IT Fundamentals, A+, CASP, Pen Test Plus, they all work. So it's a good deal. All right. Also, I'd like to thank Comptia. The reason we get these is because our buddies at Comptia are like, hey, Mike, give away some vouchers and let everybody know that Comptia is great. Guys, Comptia is great. All right, so with all that, we are ready. Let's go ahead. Now, guys, I'm going to show you a multiple choice question. Oh, I'm starting to think this one's too easy. That LS question, everybody got that. I want to find a question. The one I had was, I just think it was too easy. You guys are pretty sharp. This is a network question, but it's hardware. And this is one of these terminology questions that Comptia is sort of notorious for. Let's do this. So before I show this to you guys, I'm going to say something. Remember, when it comes to Comptia exams, if you see hoof prints, think horses, not zebras. And with that, here's the question. This one's for the Comptia voucher. Elsa needs to connect 2 switches together, but neither switch has an MDIX port. Which of the following might she use? The trick here is that neither switch has an MDIX port. Let people work on that for a minute. Let everybody take their time punching through there. All right, so we have a number of people answering this. So as I look at this, I could make an argument for a bridge, but I think it's going to be a crossover cable. So there's no automated crossover ports on either switch. So these are pretty old switches. Check your answer. Answer D is correct. Oh, by the way, folks, this is actually the total tester. This is actually the test questions themselves. All right, so it's a crossover cable, and let's see who our winner is going to be today. Andrew Hutz is typing. Okay, so looking at this, our first, here, Mike, they want to see you. They love looking at you, Mike. There we go. Sorry. So the winner I've got is Chris Smith. I'm kidding. Ognesian, good Irish name there. Chris Oganesian. Chris Oganesian. I'm not going to maul your name anymore, Chris. I'll just stop, okay? Congratulations to you. Chris, you have won one free Comptia voucher for the Comptia certification exam of your choice. Congratulations to you. Now, in order to claim your prize, sir, you've got to definitely jump through a few hoops. All right. Oh, I hope this is right. Let's see what happens. Chris, here's what you need to do. Chris, you need to send an email to Dave Rush. That's Dave R at TotalSim.com. Put your YouTube name just like it shows in the chat window here in the email. Your email address in the body of the email. Mike, but I want to send you an email. Just use the return address. If you do that, you're disqualified. Sorry, guys. Number 3, name used on previous Comptia certifications. So the last time you took a Comptia cert, you used Chris Jason Ognesian. We'll use that again here. If this is your first certification you've ever taken a Comptia, then just your legal name, like you're signing a contract. Next, your country of residence. And if you're in the USA, please add your state. Next, the country where you will take the exam, because some people live in little countries where they can, cross the street and next thing you know, they're in Luxembourg. So for you guys, please let us know where you will be taking the exam. And last, the exact exam number. So if you want to take the A+ 220-1002, don't just say you want to take the A+, because nobody's going to know what you're talking about. So, Chris, congratulations to you. You've done well. I always get nervous. So we've got this little back channel on Teams. Oh, everything's good? All right, so Chris, again, congratulations. All the information I just said has already been posted into the chat window. And again, guys, if you don't win, just come back. It's always easy. There, we lost 10 people already because this is the last one. Elbow, can you do a question from Gaming Hardware Plus so I get something? Sure. Stealthy as shark, back channel exposed. We're transparent here. All right, I'm going to look one more time, make sure I've... yeah, Brian, Andre has won 2 vouchers, so he's been mohand, as we say. Mr. G, freeloaders. Why not, man? I got to tell you, if somebody was giving away free vouchers, I would sit through a lot of sermons to get this. I wonder how many of you guys are like, oh my God, he just drones on and on. He rants about silly things and he's pretty unattractive, fat, but by God, he gives away vouchers. Don't blame me at all. Mike Meyers style, free. All right. All right, guys, I think that's going to be doing it for today. Folks, this Friday, don't forget Dave Rush will be on with his Dave Rush Ask Mike Anything, D-R-A-M-A drama. And boy, nobody knows how to make drama like Dave Rush can. Not only does Dave talks about Raspberry Pi, but now be careful here, folks. He's not talking about Raspberry Pi just to teach you about Raspberry Pi. Dave is a huge evangelist on using very, very inexpensive computer equipment to replace very, very expensive computer equipment. And Dave has done an amazing job in this over a year now of coming up with DNS and DHCP, all kinds. I don't even want to try to name them all because Dave's done so many great things in there in terms of using Raspberry Pis. Why spend $1,500 on a system when a $35 system can do the same thing? And I got no challenge to that. Dave does a great job, and he gives away vouchers. So with that, folks, I am out the door here. I don't have... You guys are all... Syed is saying, I need to enable QoS on my router so Mike sees my name first. Syed, I'm not saying that that's a bad idea, honestly. Nini K, how did he win? He had the name up first, Nini. He won. That's how it works. Okay, I think that's it. Guys, I am out the door here. I will be back next Monday. Be sure to say hi to Dave this Friday. That's at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time right here on the YouTube channel. And with that, I am out the door. Bye-bye. Are we done? Good. Well, that ought to hold the little...